Yo, what's up guys, it's Tat, and I recently put out a video where I was discussing the meta perks for Survivor and Killer and trying to make some changes to them. Basically, I'm not happy with the current meta, and I want to see what I could do and what I could come up with when it came to balance changes for both sides. Now, the reception of that video is actually pretty positive. A lot of people had a lot of constructive feedback, and people were very respectful. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let's go for part two. So I have even more Survivor perks and Killer perks that I think are in need of some changes. And just like last time, let's start with the Survivor perks. Very easy one to start us off here. Leader is getting a slight buff. It now increases the action speed bonus by 33%. It was 25%. So a very slight buff here, but it is a buff. Medal of Man is getting a slight rework. I'm not going to call it a rework. It's more like a pseudo rework of, if anything, but increases the number of required stacks now to 4 instead of 3. But you can now get stacks by safely unhooking other survivors. Maybe this is a bad idea, but I think that the amount of effort a survivor has to go through to earn Medal of Man compared to pressing E is like night and day. So I figured I would make it a little bit easier to obtain, but still time consuming compared to Dead Hard, where it's just you press a button. It's the same effect, it's just, a different version of endurance, basically. Off the Record is getting a nerf. I've made 2 changes to it. The effect duration is now 60 seconds, down from 80 seconds, and now all of the effects will disable when a conspicuous action is performed. So you can't just like hop on a gen and still have the grunts of pain be suppressed. You're gonna have to decide, do I want to hold on to this better Iron Will and save it for when I might be chased? Or do I just give up the endurance and the grunts of pain to work on the generator? That's basically the trade-off here, and I think, that's pretty fair. Off the Record is just simply one of the best perks in the game right now, and it definitely needs a nerf to bring it in line with the rest. Speaking of bringing in line with the rest, how many of you have literally ever used the perk Poised? I doubt many of you have. It has a new effect now. Gain a token each time a generator is completed. While healthy and running, press the active ability 1 button to consume a token. When a token is consumed, you leave no scratch marks for the next 10 seconds. This is spicy. This is a really nice perk. Now, it might be a little too strong at 10-second duration. Maybe I could drop the duration down to like 3, 4, and 5 seconds. But my god, this would be so good when you're running the killer. Survivors are doing the generators. You're looping the killer. They'd pop a gen. If you're healthy, press this button. Boom. No more scratch marks. You can round a corner and just be gone. I think this would be really interesting to play around with quite a bit. Next is, again, another rework. In fact, spoiler, the next 3 are reworks. The next 3 survivor perks, that is, and that is first Premonition. Literally like 5 people use this perk, so it's getting a rework. After safely unhooking another survivor from a hook, this perk activates. While active, the next time you enter into a chase with the killer, reveal their aura for the next 6 seconds and gain a 2% movement speed boost for the duration. I think this would be kind of cute. It wouldn't be too game changing. It would give you a little bit of info, like if the killer is trying to like double back or something. But really the thing here is the speed boost. Now it's 2%. It's not a whole lot. But that might be the difference between you getting a pallet or to a window when you otherwise would just take a hit and go down or become injured. So I think it would overall be a decent change. Next is a slight rework to Unbreakable, a very powerful survivor perk. Don't worry, it still keeps the ability to recover from the dying state, but new effect. So you can recover from the dying state once per trial, but after recovering from the dying state, your aura cannot be read by the killer for the next 30 seconds. It will no longer increase your recovering speed. So you recover in 32 seconds, but after you do so, your aura is hidden for 30 seconds. I think this is a pretty good middle ground. It still keeps the perk useful, but gives it a new secondary effect that's less game changing than the increased recovery speed. Next is Up the Ante. Again, another perk that just nobody uses because luck is a pointless mechanic in the game and should most certainly get reworked. But Up the Ante is getting a rework first here, and that is that when the exit gates are powered, this perk activates. Any survivor you take a protection hit for gains a 7% haste status effect for the next 3, 4, and 5 seconds. So if you go ahead in the end game, you're making some clutch saves, and oh, there's an injured survivor, they might not make the exit gate. Well, let me take a hit, and now not only do you get out, but they will most certainly get out with an extra speed boost. So this could definitely come into play. There are other plays that you could make as well. For example, if you're taking a hit for someone who is injured and they're trying to get an unhook, for example, or even a healthy survivor, right? Now they're going to get a 7% speed boost, and they're going to be able to take use of that even after they get the unhook for a few seconds. So I think this is probably one of the more simple kind of reworks I've done, but I think I think it would be kind of useful in endgame, especially if you like to bring hope and no one left behind and other endgame perks. I think this would be right up your alley. Moving on to the killer perks. Most of them I think oh, actually, no, they're not. I thought for whatever reason, most of them are reworks, but I am mistaken. The first is Distressing, which is indeed getting a rework. Any survivor within range of a boon totem hears your terror radius and cannot discern its direction or distance. After snuffing a boon totem, any survivor within range of the boon totem's effects is inflicted with the exposed status effect for 30 seconds. So this is something you might want to pair with Shattered Hope. Even on its own, it's pretty nice. Dragon's Grip is getting a slight buff. I am reducing the cooldown time to 60 seconds, down from 80 seconds. 80 seconds is way too long. I don't know if you guys have ever used Dragon's Grip, but this perk absolutely sucks. So making it, activate a little bit more often would be nice. Hangman's Trick, again, a very small buff here. We're just increasing the aura reveal range to 8 meters, up from 6. Not a huge difference, but it might catch one or two other survivors that you normally wouldn't see. Hex Ruin, I'm just kind of reverting one of the previous nerfs that they did to it, and that's just the stipulation that the totem reverts to a doll whenever you sacrifice or kill a survivor. So now Ruin no longer goes away. It's still Ruin. It's still 100%. It's not gonna be any better, really. This is just kind of getting rid of a pointless downside that I don't see the reason for. Next is Oppression. Again, another slight buff here. I think this one's actually a little bit more noticeable because it's a gen kicking perk. But what I'm doing here is I'm just reducing the cooldown to 60 seconds, down from 80 seconds. A lot of 80-second cooldowns from that old time period of 2 years to 3 years ago. A lot of perks had like an 80-second cooldown, which is like really bizarre. But yeah, no, we're going with 60-second cooldown so you could trigger the perk more often. And if you watched the previous video, you would know that I changed Call of Brine so that it only works on one generator at a time. So you can maybe use this with Call of Brine to have it line up perfectly, because they both would work for 60 seconds. So next is Territorial Imperative, which is getting a rework. Oh, thank God, dude. Territorial Imperative is ass. So let's go ahead. Let's go over the rework. Any survivor who enters the basement is inflicted with the Oblivious status effect and will reveal their aura to you. These effects persist for 5 seconds after exiting the basement. So I think this would be kind of cool. Overall, it's not going to be super like game changing, but it would definitely give the survivor kind of like a, oh shit, he has territorial. Should I even do this? Is it a good idea to be down here? You can't hide in the basement now, right? And you also don't know if the killer's coming your way, and because you're oblivious. I think it's kind of cool, but it also tells the survivor that you have it because they see that they're oblivious, and it would of course pop up on screen saying Territorial Imperative. But yeah, high risk, high reward for those who want to go for the basement chest, I guess. Next is Unnerving Presence. I'm gonna do what they did with Colorophobia here, and when you're in the terror radius and you have Unnerving Presence, survivor skill checks, their rotation speed for repairing is 50% faster, basically. So it's just like Colorophobia, but for generators. I think this would be kind of cool. You might have to get rid of the trigger odds effect that it has, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about this one in particular. And finally, we have Unrelenting. I kind of threw this one in just for fun because I know Zim likes to use Unrelenting because he's weird. So now I'm just making it so that Unrelenting will trigger its effect even if you hit an obstacle. If you don't know, Unrelenting is so bad that it actually will only reduce your attack cooldown, your missed attack cooldown, if you miss and don't hit anything. This would get rid of that. So, okay, if you're having a lot of problems with aim dressing, here you go, dude. Here's your Unrelenting value. But that's it. That's the perk update that I would make. This is part 2, of course. So if you haven't seen part 1, I do highly encourage you to do so. There is a card in the top right that will help you find the way to go. That's it for me. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.